Next, the Vatican has excommunicated 6 bishops from the ultraconservative Society of St. Pius X, while warning that any lay believers who formally adhere to this breakaway Catholic group would suffer the same fate. It comes a day after the traditionalist group consecrated 4 new bishops, openly defying a plea from Pope Leo to desist and making worse a rift which dates back to 1988. Let's bring in from Rome our correspondent there, Seema Gupta. Seema, some might say an extreme reaction by the Vatican. Why have they clamped down in such a way?
Well, this is clearly one of the harshest punishments that one can do within the Catholic Church, to be excommunicated. But the fact remains, the Pope is the only one who can authorize the consecration of bishops. And this group has decided to go it alone. And this after Pope Leo made a personal plea to the current leader of the group, pleading to them, please turn back, do not take this step. But yet, on Wednesday, in a small village in Switzerland, a 5-hour ritual-filled ceremony took place with some 16,000 people in attendance, and they defied the Pope and went ahead with this ceremony in which they ordained 4 people, a Swiss national, an American, and 2 Frenchmen. Now, the 2 bishops, as well as these 4 men, have been excommunicated, but they've gone a step further. They said anyone who is a lay member, a follower, or a priest within this group also will be excommunicated. Now, this group really is based in Switzerland. It's ultra-traditionalist, conservative, if you like, and they deny key church teachings, specifically Vatican II, or the Second Vatican Council, which back in the 1960s resulted in the church being modernized. One of the key differences after Vatican II was that Mass could be celebrated in the vernacular or local languages and no longer had to be only in Latin. And also, Vatican II resulted in more interreligious dialogue, as well as repairing ties with other Christian denominations. But this group, the Society of St. Pius X, they essentially deny those teachings, and they believe that theirs is the true doctrine. So now the church has had to make this step.
Can you tell us more about this breakaway group, how it developed, what its beliefs are?
Well, its beliefs are basically in reaction to the Second Vatican Council, as I mentioned, and it was set up in 1970 by a then French archbishop, and he put it together because he was against, he opposed those modernizing elements within the church and these teachings. And then back in 1988, they back then also tried to ordain a few bishops, and at that time, Pope John Paul II excommunicated those that were involved in that ordination. And that's when you saw the first rift. Now, subsequent popes, Pope Benedict as well as Pope Francis, both tried to make some concessions, bring them back into the fold and tried to communicate with them. So there were these concessions, but yet again, now under Pope Leo, essentially this group, in fact, or the person in charge of this ordination was one of those that were excommunicated back in 1988. He's the one who pushed through this ordination on Wednesday. And now you have the Vatican's Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, which is essentially the Catholic watchdog body, saying that they'll be excommunicated, and anyone else who's part of that group will be as well. It's interesting to note, though, the group is some 600,000 or so around the world, is what we believed, mainly people from the United States as well as France, but also other countries. Now, that in comparison, of course, to Pope Leo, who is the leader of the 1.4 billion Catholics all around the world. But Pope Leo really has expressed in the past his pain about the divisions caused by this group. And the Vatican #2, Cardinal Parolin, also speaking to journalists, said that there was deep sorrow he felt by this decision to break the unity of the church.
Indeed, deep sorrow. As you say, Pope Leo has had a very positive impact, I think, since becoming Pope. This perhaps the first big crisis he's really had to deal with. I'm wondering how perhaps that is going down with people where you are. How are Catholics in the Vatican, in Rome, around Italy, if not around the world? You can't speak for everybody, I know. But what is the reaction you're picking up on?
Well, this group is not unknown here in Italy. They know about them. They were excommunicated back in 1988. The feeling, I think, when Pope Leo came into this position as the pontiff was that he was going to bring about unity. You had all this talk about the traditionalists within the Catholic Church versus the modernizers or the liberals, if you like, and he was pushing very much for unity. He's, however, made it very clear that he believes that Vatican II is fundamental to church teachings. So these two things can't really stick together. And while this group is a vocal and known group within the Catholic Church, there are other traditionalists who function pretty much within the church. And Pope Leo himself last year had an American cardinal who carried out Mass in Latin in St. Peter's Basilica. So it's not exactly that they're opposed to this idea, but going to the extent of having an ordination that is not authorized by the pontiff as the leader of the church is grounds for immediate excommunication according to church teachings.
Seema Gupta, thank you very much indeed. Seema Gupta, our correspondent there in Rome.